of my favorite elements of the Pokémon world is its mysteries. Within this universe where everything is interconnected, everything feels like a huge puzzle that requires your imagination to be completed, unlocking an increasingly deeper vision of the saga. Although the magical creatures steal all the spotlight, many of these enigmas are centered around people. Today, we theorize about some of the most mysterious characters we have seen throughout the saga and what their true identity and nature might be. The Johto region is Game Freak's utopian vision of a world where people live in harmony with nature and tradition. But at its heart, we find Ecruteak City, a cradle of legends, myths, and mysteries. Not for nothing does the famous Ghost of the Whirl Islands have a strong association with this place, sounding the theme of the tower that does nothing when interacting with it. The role it has, or once had, at some point during development is one of the greatest mysteries of the cartridge. It almost feels like it was left there on purpose, to star in the nightmares of those who were too curious and messed around with the limits of the cartridge. Even with all this is not the greatest mystery of the city. Only in the Crystal version. When arriving in the city, the leader Morty is at the Burn Tower investigating the possible return of the legendary beasts, accompanied by Eusine. It is likely that the sixth sense of both characters warned them of the event, but if at that moment we try to access the gym, a strange character stops us as soon as we enter, immediately escorting us back outside while laughing with a suspicious attitude. That a gym leader is absent until we complete a certain event is nothing new in the saga, but in those cases, the normal thing is that we can access the leader's position, but find it empty, as with Jasmine until we heal Amphi, or that the gym is simply closed and inaccessible, like Giovanni's until we defeat the rest of the leaders. But having a random character, who is also neither a gym subordinate nor a trainer, practically push us outside is unusual and unsettling. Now, once Morty returns to his post, we find this character on the outskirts of the Burn Tower, and, as if reading our minds and anticipating us asking who the hell he is, he simply says, "I was a trainer a long time ago." Haha. This NPC uses the common old man sprite from these games, but with the palette changed to a radioactive green, completely different from the usual coloration of this class of trainer. I mean, they could have perfectly used the standard sprite, but I feel like they wanted some of us to notice this guy. Back to the event where he prevents us from entering the gym, Morty tells us how his family has dedicated itself to studying the legends of the region for centuries. Could this be some member of the gym leader's clan in Johto? It is rumored that Morty possesses extrasensory powers and a certain clairvoyance. If this character is his grandfather or something like that, maybe he shares that sixth sense. It is possible that just by seeing us, he visualized our encounter with the legendaries and everything it would end up triggering in the events of the game, thus explaining why he was so insistent that we go to the Burn Tower as soon as possible. All of this could have remained mere paranoia, but there is something that back in the day made me seriously consider all these questions. In Kanto, we find a similar case. Another random grandfather with a changed palette, this time a striking blue, gives us a similar message about his past as a trainer, and hands us, in Pewter City, the Silver Wing. That is to say, where is he supposed to have obtained a legendary object like that? Once again, accompanied by mysterious and melancholic words. Just put yourself in Chris's shoes. If it weren't for the old man's insistence that she go to the Burn Tower as soon as possible, perhaps she would have waited for Morty at his gym. Another person would have encountered the legendaries, and they would have fled disappointed to another region in search of a special trainer, never crossing paths with the protagonist. If that were the case, She would never have encountered Ho-Oh either, whose appearance in this game requires being accompanied by the three beasts, so that the rainbow Pokémon returns to meet us full of hope the same way. If it weren't for the other mysterious individual at the twilight of the journey in Kanto, we would not have been able to locate Lugia, the most hidden legendary of the crystal version. The only two shiny old men of the generation seem to be there so that the protagonist encounters the legendaries, and together with their special color palette, it almost feels as if they were angels, sentinels of our destiny as chosen children. Could it be that in other timelines these characters were not present, and that is why in those same timelines these legendaries are capturable by other protagonists from other regions? We know perfectly well all the restrictions that exist to access such a dangerous place, with the professor not giving us permission even after becoming champion. Not until we defeat Blue first and prove that we are at Red's level to fight for the position of the best in the world. Logically, everyone on Mount Silver should be at least at that same level. This is implied between the lines, with the other mysterious trainer in the area, who tells us that she chose that location precisely because it is such a solitary and inaccessible place to take refuge from her fame. But then, is the Pokémon Center lady another champion? For example, someone who had a certain history with Professor Oak, such that he would not even consider denying her access. In fact, it is believed that Agatha was much stronger in her youth, fighting with Oak for the position of the most powerful trainer, so she would have demonstrated more than enough aptitude. Jokes aside, with the generational leap, enigmatic old folks do not stop appearing. What about those in the houses with crates or potted plants blocking an inaccessible entrance, which sparked so many rumors in our childhood? That we learned what is truly there. Battles only unlockable with the e-reader, which remained a mystery in the West, where this gadget was almost completely unknown. There are all of these characters throughout the generations have in common that their dialogues reference their youth as great trainers many years ago. A coincidence and repetition that makes me wonder if there is some connection there that we are not seeing. Perhaps all we have left is to ask Arceus for answers, which in the original Diamond and Pearl was difficult, since its capture event in the Hall of Origin was never released. But if somehow this original Arceus made it onto your team, a secret event would unlock that I would describe as unsettling. The man with the hiker sprite appears at the entrance of the Aurabird mine only if we have a legitimate Arceus in our team, something that was impossible at the beginning of the generation, which makes everything even stranger. The man introduces himself as a philosophy student. Later, we can find him in the Kanave City Library, where he speaks to us about surprisingly deep details regarding the origin and creation of the Pokémon world, demonstrating a chilling level of knowledge about Arceus and what he calls spirit. It is impressive how much I can ramble about literally 16 pixels. But if I ended the video here, it would be historical clickbait, so let's talk a bit about the anime and its most enigmatic character, Tobias, the same one who appeared at the end of what, for many, was the peak of the development of the original Ash, before the anime took a different direction. An exceptionally creative, experienced, and talented trainer who would see his coronation frustrated in the most unfair way imaginable by a guy who came out of nowhere with legendary and mythical Pokémon on his team that by themselves seemed so unreasonably powerful that, apparently, he reached those semifinals defeating leaders and trainers from preliminary rounds without the need to reveal a second Pokémon beyond his Darkrai. Everything was especially cruel if we take into account that Ash did manage to knock out 2 of his Pokémon, an achievement that no one else, not even the runner-up, came close to accomplishing. This implies that he and Paul were the best of that league by a much wider margin than we thought, and that if this guy hadn't appeared out of nowhere, Ash would have been 100% the champion of that season. I think it is quite clear what was behind this character, preventing the most overpowered Ash up to that point from winning the league, since that would have forced his retirement, and they still had many plans for him, at least making it an honorable defeat and leaving a good image of the character by giving some fight to a guy who plays with cheats enabled. No, seriously. In the golden age of R4s and TTDS cards, I like to think that Tobias truly represents the player who cheats. Now, let's imagine that in the last season they had removed the Nobody Alen from there and put Tobias in his place. Look, I don't want to be a hater, but if at least they had crossed him with Ash to settle unfinished business, it would have made some sense. But they brought him almost exclusively to make Leon shine, and barely exchanged 2 lines with the protagonist. A region that places so much emphasis on the pursuit of the ideal of the strongest, in which Leon is presented as the undisputed champion, whom few have even been able to give an interesting fight, and who seem destined to face our protagonist at the end. Wouldn't it have been an incredible plot twist for Tobias to appear and crush him, revealing the rest of his team and representing for Ash an even greater challenge than he expected? If you enjoy this content, you can also subscribe and follow me on social media to stay up to date with all the adventures that are yet to come. See you soon.